Hello, everybody, and welcome to Some of Our Parts, the very first episode. I'm Lindsay,
And I'm Jim.
and since it's our first episode, we thought we would get started with a little about us kind of background. Like I said, I'm Lindsay. I'm 33. I'm from Maryland, kind of grew up in the suburbs in the 90s. My introduction to movies was through my dad, primarily through Blockbuster. I guess aging myself there for all the Gen Zers here. But yeah, we would spend a lot of Friday and Saturday nights either with a movie we rented from Blockbuster or going to the movies to see kind of whatever was new out and then eventually catching whatever was on TV. From a young age, I got really into watching movies, watching TV, just kind of the pop culture world. What about you, Jim?
Well, I'm a little older than you are, Lindsay. Actually, I'm twice your age. And I grew up in a small town in West Virginia. But like you, movies started early for me. Our big treat was every Christmas, my father would take my brother and I to the movies as a one of our Christmas presents. So that started very early with us. And we were children of the TV from the 60s and the 70s, sort of our babysitter, as both of our parents worked, and grew up just watching old movies on reruns and TV shows and learning to enjoy them. And that has continued ever since. Now that movies are more available and on demand or whenever you want to see them, I still enjoy going to the movie theater, watching the lights go down, having popcorn and a soda, and watching it with friends or family and enjoying that experience. And Lindsay and I have bonded a friendship over that and enjoy watching movies together and talking about entertainment.
Exactly. Jim and I have known each other now for a little over 10 years, almost 11. And like you said, we bonded over movies. We've seen most of the Marvel Cinematic Universe together. I think I think we agreed that we started with Captain America Civil War, but we've seen a lot of them since then. But yeah, I had the idea that since we both like seeing movies, we both like talking about movies, we have these kind of conversations all the time. That it might be nice to share them with other people and share with each other some of the movies that have kind of been important to us and helped make us who we are, that we grew up with, that had a real big impact on us. So we came up with this podcast idea to kind of take turns sharing movies that have been really important to us and both watching them and having a conversation about it and seeing what we think. That is how some of our parts came to be. I came up with the title just from some kind of quotes. Like I think there's in a Chuck Palahniuk book, he talks about a character talks about I'm the sum of everyone I've ever met. So I figured we're kind of the sum of all the movies that we've seen. So here we are. And now we'll launch into our first movie. Jim kindly allowed me to pick first. So I picked Cinematic Masterpiece from 1997, Spice World.
So this was a revelation to me. I'd heard of the Spice Girls. I thought I'd seen the movie, but it turns out after I watched it, I had not. And I realized that pretty early on. So, Lindsay, let me ask you, why was this your first selection for our introductory session to our podcast?
Well, it was hard to pick because I have a very long list that I made of movies for this, but I feel like the Spice Girls and Spice World just feel like a quintessential like girl growing up in the 90s kind of experience. I think like for me and all my friends, we still love the Spice Girls. A lot of people I know my age, like young women, just love them. And I think, we still see them all the time. Like we see Victoria Beckham everywhere. Mel B is hosting things. I think those are the two we see the most usually, but they they live on, and I think people still love them and are always asking them about when they're going to reunite and go on tour. And it's also, I think this year is like the 30th anniversary of when they formed. for the first time. So I feel like the Spice Girls are always relevant. So that's why I settled on this one. And I also thought that it would be, I wanted to pick one that I thought you might not have seen. That would be kind of definitely outside the realm of like what we usually watch together. So I think Spice World is a big departure from the Marvel Cinematic Universe, although it does have there's a lot of action in it and all sorts of things. So I
I-
hoped to for a fun viewing experience for you.
and it was. I have to admit, when I first started watching the movie, there was when it started out, I thought I could see where this would capture the attention, especially of a younger person, and it was the opening scenes and so on. So let me ask you, when you saw it, did you see it at the movie theater for the first time?
I think I did. I can't say 100% for sure. I have like an impression of seeing it in the movie theater, especially like the end when they start like talking to the viewer. I
When they
feel,
break the fourth barrier?
yeah, exactly. Like when they're like, "Hey, you there." I have like an impression in my mind of seeing that in the movies, so I might have, but I can't remember for sure. But I do know I definitely had it on VHS. And then as an adult, I got it on DVD to make sure I would always have it. So I remembered seeing it. I just can't remember if I saw it at the movies, but I was like big Spice Girls at the time. Like they had these like Spice Girls lollipops. They were like gum-filled lollipops and each one came with a sticker. And you could just get them at Party City, so I would have my mom drive me to Party City like whenever I like got good grades or whatever.
Well,
Um
I wondered if that was after, now that you mentioned that, after seeing the movie, I noticed that they did have lollipops all the time, and now that makes sense if that was a marketing thing that they were using that to have people, or people buy that. So I did not know that.
yeah, yeah, and I collected the stickers like in
Oh,
my because there was a sticker inside, you didn't know what sticker you were getting until you open it, and it was like stickers of like the different members. It was always a bummer if you got one you already had, but I collected them on a notebook.
and do you still have those stickers?
I do not, unfortunately.
Oh,
Um, whatever notebook they were on, it is long gone. But it was very important to me at the time that I had them. Like the stickers, my Spice Girls, like Barbie dolls. Actually, the Scary Spice doll I have is wearing the same outfit that she's wearing at not the end. No, it is at the end. The end, the one when they sing "Spice Up Your Life," that outfit was on my Scary Spice Barbie doll.
oh, so they even had they had Spice Girls Barbie dolls?
Yes, yes, and I
And
had them all, but I remembered the Scary Spice outfit.
oh, okay. All right. That makes sense. So I could see that. So, and one of the things I wanted to ask you, and I did not know the history about their coming into being and so on. So when the movie came out, were they popular then, or was this a part of the introduction of the Spice Girls to the world?
So they already had an album out. So like the song "Wannabe," which is probably like the song that everybody knows.
Mm-hmm.
Like "Tell Me What You Want, What You Really Really Want," that one. That was already out.
Okay.
So they had an album called Spice that had those it had "Wannabe" and like "To Become One" and stuff like that on it. So that was already out. That came out in 1996. And then this movie came out and basically I think I was reading that I guess they were going to do like they had to do a second album and they were also going to do a soundtrack, but they ended up kind of combining it. So like all the songs that you hear in the movie that they sing except for I think one is a cover, but pretty much all the songs that they sing in this movie are from their second album called Spice
Okay.
World.
Was this the only movie they'd ever made?
Yeah. Yeah. And then they broke up not long after, so
Oh,
they never
I
got to
didn't.
make another one. Well,
I
Ginger left. So that was the big thing. It really rocked my world. when Ginger left. Yeah, it was like a serious moment for little girls.
And was this something due to, did she go off on her own to do her own career solo, or did she join another group?
She went solo, and then they did another album with just the other four of them, but I don't think like it ever kind of hit. And then I think a lot of them all did their own thing. Like Sporty Spice had some kind of like late 90s kind of like club pop hits, and obviously Victoria went the way of David Beckham,
Exactly.
and stuff like that. So yeah, they kind of eventually did their own thing, and then they reunited I think for the first time when I was in high school, but I didn't go see them. And then other times like at the closing ceremonies of the London Olympics, for example, that was a real highlight for me too.
Oh, okay. So when they reunited while you were in high school, did they go on tour?
Yeah. Yes.
Oh, oh. And did you just not have the opportunity to go see them?
Yeah, I think I don't know. I don't remember why, but it just didn't happen. But I knew some other people who went, and they said it was great. So I was jealous for sure. But yeah. Yeah, I didn't get to go see them then. So if they ever reunite again, I will definitely go. I will make it happen, whatever the cost. But yeah, I didn't go then, unfortunately.
So I wanted to ask, after watching the movie and watching through the movie, so not really paying attention at the time about their arrival on the scene, was their audience, the target audience, was it younger girls,
I
teenage
get
girls, or even younger?
I mean, I guess so. I was 7. So my like analysis of it was like it hit for me. I could say
Okay.
that. And I think because I was like I'm the type of person, and I was even when I was a kid, that like some stuff that people say just doesn't make sense to me. And the idea that like people telling me like, oh well, you're a girl, so XYZ
Oh,
was not a message that ever resonated with me.
I
Like, I was
see.
like, what? Like I know boys and they're not like smarter or stronger or anything. Like,
Correct.
so I was like, why? Because I'm a girl, I have to like pink and I have to wear skirts. You know what I mean? Like I have to be a certain way. Um, and so to have like a group of women that like are all kind of different, but they're all together and singing songs that are like fun and kind of empowering, and like girl power was always their thing. Like you see them say that a lot in Spice World. So I think that like just resonated with me, even though I was like a little kid. It was like, yes, exactly. Like girl power, like girls are great. Even though that's not necessarily like the message that most people give. I appreciated that from them. And like I said, like I there's stuff that you can like in like each one of them. And I think that's a thing that like all of my friends when we were kids, like everybody kind of has one that they identify with.
Mm-hmm.
Just the way that like, people have like a favorite Avenger, and people like pick their like which Sex in the City character they identify with. Like I think people always like have like their Spice Girl. So like for me, I played a lot of sports, so I loved Sporty Spice. And for people who know me and have seen what I look like, I have like giant curly hair, which at the time I had not fully mastered. So people had lots of things to say about it, usually not nice. So seeing Scary Spice and her hair, I was like, yes, like she's super cool. So Sporty and Scary were kind of my preferred members
Oh,
for
okay.
sure.
I can see that.
Yeah.
Um, so when I watched the beginning of the movie, the introduction and the opening scenes and so on, so it reminded me of the first James Bond movies.
Hmm.
The sort of the silhouette scenes, and
Yeah.
the music, and I don't know. I guess it was some of the movie to me a little bit was reminiscent of the spy genre and that sort of thing, and then it seemed like they sort of used that throughout the whole thing, including the chief
Hmm.
Roger
Hmm.
Moore,
Yeah.
who was James Bond, and I thought it was a very funny play on his character mimicking the arch enemy Blofeld in the James Bond movies with the, and I didn't realize until later on in the movie that it wasn't always a cat. It was a different animal that he had sitting in his lap that he was petting. So
Yes, it had a pig a couple of times.
yeah, I had a pig and it looked like a bunny rabbit. And I thought
Yeah.
that was a pretty funny thing. And also it struck me about the bus. Like, how big was that bus? You know, it was like you saw it on the outside, it was a double decker traditional bus, and then on the inside, it looked like Albert Hall. You know, it
Yeah,
was
it's
just
like the Mary Poppins bag of buses for sure.
exactly. So, and I thought that was, I like the visual jokes or the running gags and stuff. And I thought that was very funny about how they did that. And it wasn't sort of done tongue in cheek. And then later on in the movie, when they talked about, oh, they had needed to stop to go to the bathroom, I even commented, I wrote down, that bus is so big and there's no bathroom on it. But then they said, oh no, all the toilets were clogged. So it was like, oh, okay, never mind. So, but
And at
um,
that moment, did you catch that Meatloaf as the bus driver said, I
and
would
I
do
even wrote
anything,
down, but I won't do that.
but I won't do that, which is great. That's why it's great to watch this like now, because when I was a kid, I was just like, oh, that's just a man driving the bus. I didn't know who Meatloaf was when I was 7. And
Well,
so like that joke didn't hit for me then, but now as an adult, it does.
well, and all the people like, and I made a note like there was a lot of people, British TV people, who are I think more familiar to audiences today, but back in the day, unless you watched BBC or had access to that,
Hmm.
you didn't see those people. You know, the
Yeah.
manager. I mean, there was a lot of people in there. The actor from House, and then
Hmm.
all
Hmm.
those. Alan Cumming, who went on has done several things, but there were a lot of people in that movie that you know, now we see doing other things or have done other things, but at the time, I'm sure they were just starting out in their careers as well.
Yeah. Yeah. And what's funny is I was like looking up the movie because obviously at the time I didn't know who like directed it. But the director is this guy named Bob Spires, who he didn't direct a lot of movies, but he did a lot of British TV. So he directed like episodes of Absolutely Fabulous, which includes Jennifer Saunders, who made a cameo.
Cameo, I saw
Um,
that at the party.
yes, yes, at the party she was talking to,
Was it
was it,
Ginger?
yeah, I think it might have been Ginger. She was talking about like how to do her hair. And then like Hugh Laurie, like you said, and Stephen
Mm-hmm.
Fry, like he would the the director had also directed like Fry and Laurie, like their TV show, and a bunch of like British sitcom kind of shows. So I think he must have had kind of an in with all of those people to maybe get them to make cameos in the movie. But yeah, I think like seeing them now, it's like, oh, I know who all these people are. And like when I was a kid, I knew who like Elton John was when he makes a cameo, but I didn't really know who like Bob Geldof was.
Or Bob Hoskins appeared, you know, in like a
Yes.
cameo when they were talking about they were pitching the movie ideas
Yes. Yes.
about the movie. By the way, and this was just an aside, I did also make a note that looking at that, I wonder if that's still today how movie ideas are pitched. They just sort of spitball stuff and just throw things and then figure out when somebody says, oh yeah, let's do that. And I thought to myself, Lindsay and I could probably pitch a lot more better movie ideas than some of the ones that these people come up with. So, but anyway.
I think maybe for like music stars like that, it's probably like this, but it is that part I enjoyed because it does make it a whole like meta thing. Because really, like this movie doesn't have like a plot, right? Like there is a timeline, right? We know at the beginning that in a week they have this big live concert,
Right.
and everything else just happens in between. The only like there is the running plot of like there's some nerves about the concert. There's the whole the tabloid people trying to kind of mess with them. There's a couple of like running things, but there's not really like, you know, if you sort of try to diagram it like a traditional plot, there's not really that much
No,
that
but
fits.
but it was, to me it was enjoyable and it was lighthearted, it was fun.
Hmm.
But and you brought up something though that I'd thought about too was, even today we talk about the British tabloids, well, tabloids in general, but the British tabloids could be especially brutal on people. We all seen, the results of that. And I wondered if, that was, also a commentary on the British tabloids about how mean they can be, and how they can go to extremes to about, putting things in print that really aren't true, or just
Mhm.
sort of made up, or just taken out of context.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Like the "Is the Pope Catholic?" line, and it's like Spice Girls question religion of the Pope,
Pope, yeah.
um and even just like the guy who ran the tabloid and his like at the beginning when he wants to take down the Spice Girls, it like thunders and rains, and then at the end
Mhm.
when when they do kind of successfully take them down, seemingly he's like there's like a hallelujah chorus and he's smiling for the first time in his life. Um but yeah, I think that they really did get the sort of like make absurd the level of the lengths that the British tabloids go to sort of smear people, like, the guy popping out of the toilet.
Oh
I
gosh,
found him so scary.
he
That
was. And he reminded me, and I know it's not the same actor, but if you ever saw the original Willy Wonka movie with
Mhm.
Gene Wilder, he reminded me of the guy they called Slugworth,
Yes.
who
Yes.
actually worked for Willy Wonka to try to get the kids to do stuff, to make them turn over the secrets to Willy Wonka and stuff like that. But that's who he reminded me of. Just sort of had that
Mhm.
same appearance and that same behavior. So
Yeah. Yeah. And do you know who he is, that actor? If you've seen like Rocky Horror Picture Show,
he,
he's Riff Raff.
Riff Raff, yeah.
Yeah.
So,
So he's
and
still
by
kind
the
of
way,
scary.
Meatloaf was also in Rocky Horror
Yes.
Picture Show. So yeah,
Yes,
so
very
there's a
true.
little bit of a common theme running through there. And the one character that, and I'm assuming they took it off of because he was popular on American TV, was George Wendt, who played the movie producer in
Mhm.
American,
Mhm.
from Cheers. And but other than that, it's like, when I saw the credits, and I thought, oh, they've got James Bond and Norm Peterson in the same movie. This is going to be really, really interesting how they've interact.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, a
so
little bit of everybody there.
it is, and a lot, some of it also took me back in my day when the Monkees started, and the Monkees
Mm.
were started as a made for TV musical group, because they just sort of brought these people together, and whether or not they had any musical talent, actually, and it turned out they did, or they became musically talented. But I wonder, if that was sort of like a sort of a little bit of a take on that as well. They just sort of, had these people come and audition or whatever, and then, oh, let's do a group, that didn't join on their own, but we're going to audition and then pick them and stuff. And I thought that was a diverse group of people, and I
Mhm.
can see where that would appeal to especially young women and so on. I also wonder if some of the target though wasn't teenage boys. Just saying.
I think so. I think could have been. And I think, more some of them than others. Probably like
Yeah.
Ginger was usually the most like scantily clad, for sure. She was always in like the little, like the
Yeah.
little Union Jack outfits and stuff.
Yeah.
Um,
I thought some of the costume choices were interesting too. And I don't know if it was just maybe the budget was limited, or or they just sort of picked things out to like either be more dramatic, or just sort of off the cuff. But I did think Scary Mel B wore some of the more put together outfits other than Victoria.
yeah.
Posh.
Yeah. And I mean, that's kind of their like they each sort of have their thing, right? So Scary is usually in like all platforms, animal
Yeah.
print,
Mm-hmm.
like something like that. Like I always love the part when they're rehearsing and she's wearing like the big like spacesuit jacket. That's
Oh
always one
yeah.
of my favorite parts, her favorite looks. But Victoria, like they joke, little black Gucci dress or a little
Mm-hmm.
black Gucci
Or the
dress.
little black Gucci dress. So
Um, and then Sporty is always in like track pants and sneakers. Which I imagine is at least partially a height thing because she's taller than the rest of them, so she doesn't wear platforms.
I wondered about that. I wondered, like, the ones that wore platforms, are they all kind of short statured.
I think so, because there's one part, I think it's when they're doing their little dancing boot camp.
Mm-hmm.
Where are the Spice Girls? Yes,
Oh
indeed.
yeah, yeah. And
And they're all wearing like flat shoes. You could tell that sport, besides Victoria, who is obviously still in a small dress and heels.
and
Um,
I made a note that I was impressed that she was marching in heels. That while she was and see if that was indeed her, she was doing a good job. So
yes, yes. So, but you can tell in that scene that Mel C Sporty is a little bit taller than the rest of them. So I do think
okay,
the platforms are at least partially like a to get them all kind of roughly the same height. But yeah, like baby always in kind of like pinks and like pastel colors, like little skirt platforms. And then Ginger's usually like a bodysuit, something
gotcha.
short and
Mm-hmm.
platforms. But she sort of also famously has worn does a lot of like Union Jack. She has like a Union Jack like bodysuit and stuff that she's
Oh,
worn.
okay. Were those platform shoes? I know when I grew up in the '60s and the '70s, we wore platform shoes. But were those platform shoes? Did girls wear those because of the Spice Girls? Did they were they for
Hmm.
sale out there?
Yeah, I definitely wore like platform tennis shoes when I was that age.
How tough were they to
Like
walk
7.
in?
I don't know. I didn't really think about it. So I guess they weren't
Okay,
that
I just
tough. But I
okay,
did. Because it was like, of course, I'm gonna wear these because the Spice Girls are wearing them.
gotcha.
Um,
Okay,
so
so
yeah,
that
no,
was
I
a real
definitely
that was
did.
a real thing. So
Hmm.
about like the fashion thing, it wasn't just something that they wore and you couldn't get them.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. I had nothing. The platform shoes I had were nothing like the giant ones that they had, but I do think that they kind of inspired it as a trend because that's when I wanted to get some. So I definitely had more reasonable platforms. They did not look as quite as crazy and tall as the ones
Oh,
that they
okay. So they
wore.
weren't like the big 4 inch.
No, no. They were like
Oh,
a couple of inches. Like so they were like noticeable. They were definitely taller than regular like tennis shoes, but
okay.
not on their level. I don't know where you would get where one gets shoes like that. Their shoes kind of look like, when like people have like one leg shorter than the other and they get
Mm-hmm.
special shoes, that's kind of what theirs look like.
I know they, yeah, like the orthopedic shoes, like where, yeah, someone had a difference in their leg height and they had to
Yeah.
compensate or make up for that. So,
Yeah, that's what theirs kind of look like. Mine were not near that, but definitely
okay.
like a chunky platform shoe for sure.
Okay.
Became a trend because of them. So I wonder what your thought is about an opinion I have long held because of this movie and just life generally,
Hmm.
that Victoria Beckham, Posh Spice, is the funniest.
I would agree with you. And the other thing is that she came across to me in the movie, and I don't follow her other than to see her do things, around David Beckham and stuff like that. But she came across more down to earth, and I know people, oh, she's the fashion maven or whatever it is, but yeah, I thought she was very funny in the movie. It had a dry sense of humor, and I guess what people would normally associate with a British wit or
Mm-mm.
however
Hmm.
you want to call it. But yeah, and I also thought that yeah, she was also I won't say the best actress or the best person coming across, but she was, I think, better than some of the other ones in coming across camera to me.
Yes. Yes.
Her
No.
and her and Mel B,
Hmm.
well, I refer as Scary.
Yes.
They, to me, they came across as the ones most comfortable, I guess, in front of the camera. Although I will say, I don't know who the actress was that played her friend who was pregnant, but I thought she did a really good job. And I thought it's like she was just sort of I don't know, just a side note
Hmm.
in the whole. Well, she was a factor in the plot of the movie, but I don't know who the actress was, but I thought she was very good. She seemed very believable in her character and so on. So,
Yeah. Yeah, for
but
sure.
yeah,
Nicola.
I like Victoria a lot. And like you, I agree. I think she was the funniest of them,
Hmm.
and also one of the better actresses. So
Yeah. She has some great lines. I always love the part when they fall in the water off the boat.
oh God.
And the kids are like, "Oh, this is so fun." And she's like, "No, it's not. This
And
dress is dry clean only, Melanie."
I, I yeah, just her delivery and stuff, and then I the way she interacted with the other characters as well. So
Hmm.
And also the way she interacted with the manager, and now I can't think of the manager's name, but
Clifford.
Clifford. Yeah. So she was, sort of telling him off. I mean, the rest of them did too, but I think Victoria was just seemed to come across a little more as maybe not the leader of the group, but maybe kind of one of the people for the group.
Hmm.
So,
Oh yeah, when they have that big fight and he's like, "My bum's on the line." She's like, "Can we stop talking about butts
but
and
and buns.
bums?" Yes, no,
Uh,
they're she has so many great lines. And I will say Nicola, like, she is sort of this like weird random like sixth wheel kind of. And then they take her to a club, just like you do when you have a friend who's like a week overdue and pregnant. They're like,
I
"Let's go
was
hang
gonna,
out with
and
her
she's like,
and take her to a
she,
club."
yeah, and let's take her out till all hours of the night. Let's go to a club where she may go into labor at any moment because she's overdue. And yeah,
And
that,
then she does.
yeah, yeah, exactly. So, but I thought, well, gee, that sort of sort of ended up where you thought it might be anyway,
Yeah.
or where it was going to go.
Yes. Although I will say this scene when they're like in the bus going to the hospital when she's in labor has some of the like the lines that still stick with me the most to this day of like, "We're not ready yet." And them all
Stay
with
in
like
there, don't come
the
out.
the gloves and like aprons and stuff.
Oh my God.
And they're like,
Um,
"Close your legs." Well, she should have done that 9 months ago.
that yeah, that was. I was getting ready to say, oh, you should have thought of that 9 months ago. That
Yeah.
was good. And I don't know who wrote the script. I don't know. I didn't look at the. I didn't write a note or anything about who. But I thought the lines were funny. And again, like I said, when I would at the end of it, it was like I could see where this is a movie where you would go. It was lighthearted. It was fun. It
Hmm.
was. It wasn't slow. It didn't drag. To me, I mean
Yeah.
that's saying something because there are times when I watch a movie and I'll get into 15 minutes of it and I think I got to turn this off because this is like going to take forever, or it's not going anywhere. But I did. I thought it was a good movie that you didn't have to worry about being depressed or being down. It was a good feeling movie. It left you feeling positive, or at least you felt like you were entertained, or at least I did after I got finished watching it.
No, agreed. Agreed totally.
I did notice it seemed like, though, I don't know if, again, looking at budget, did everybody have the same cell phone, or was that just the one phone that everybody had in England?
It must
Every
have been because this was early days of
it
cell
was,
phones,
and I
so
realized that, but it's like every time somebody was on a phone, that all the phones looked the same, and maybe they just had one phone, and that's what everybody used in the shot. So, but I
yeah.
don't know. So,
I think so. I think so. But yeah, no, it is just like a fun movie. It's one that I probably know so many lines from still. And it's just silly. Like when they go to the bathroom in the woods and aliens come and they can somehow
it,
communicate with aliens.
it,
They know the
and
language.
yeah, and they sort of, yeah, they got across where it's like, oh, okay, and it's like that these aliens are, have fallen in love with the Spice Girls, which I thought that was kind of cute, but
Yeah, they're
it was
such a big group that even aliens know who they are and want
exactly.
tickets to their
A-
live show.
and come for all the way from another planet just to catch their live show.
Yeah, and grab Scary Spice's boob.
Yeah, I was like, or well, I couldn't tell. No, I didn't go back and replay it, but I couldn't tell. Did he actually get there, or did she stop him just before he got there? So I wasn't sure. But then I can't believe it was it Ginger that kissed one.
Yes.
Yeah, it's
Yes.
like okay, whatever. So I don't think that would happen today.
Yeah, no. And then I think Scary's like doing an autograph, like, is that three X's or four?
I know when they said, "Oh, make it out to so and so," and it was like, yeah, some weirdo wild. It's for my nephew or something. It's not for
Yeah.
me. And then,
But the
and
Spice Girls totally knew exactly what they were saying.
exactly, and what the whole thing was. And then they took the picture and stuff. So, and what was the other part? The other part I thought was funny was when they were talking about the girls hadn't shown up for the show, and they were worried that they wouldn't come, and then Clifford had this big idea. okay, he was going to have the band start up and the lights come up and he was going to go out and hang himself.
Yes.
And I mean, I don't think that would play in today's world, but I actually laughed out loud when I was watching the movie, and I had a couple people like look at me. They didn't know what I was watching, but honest to goodness, I thought it was funny. So, but like, okay, I know how to fix this. I'll just kill myself. So
Yes. Yes. No, for sure. And at the same time that he's going like, I hate you. And then they come in and they're like, oh,
I
hey,
love you. I love you.
I love you. I love you.
Oh,
Yeah.
and then and that was when you talked about the thing about girl power and stuff, and then the group all talked about how they decided if they were going to go on, they were going to decide and stuff, but all the people that were in charge, so to speak, Clifford, the chief, was all men,
Mm-hmm.
and the only woman was Clifford's assistant,
Mm-hmm.
who it was like nowadays, and I just wonder if they cast the movie now, how different would it be? You know what I mean? If
Yeah. Yeah.
and I get what they were trying to do, and then I know times were different back then, but I wonder if they remade or tried to do something today along those same lines or along that same theme, would they come up with the different casting, not only for the group but also for the other players? Like, would the person in charge be a woman, or be be someone else, or be another type of person other than just an old English guy, that sort of
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
So,
And it does. So I did look up who the writer was, and it's a guy named Kim Fuller, whose brother is Simon Fuller, who was their
oh,
manager.
okay,
And Simon Fuller is the person who, like, with Simon Cowell formed like Pop Idol and American Idol and all the idol shows. So
yeah,
he and it seems like Kim Fuller did write like a lot of things for his brothers, like other groups he managed. Like he also managed this group called S Club 7, who I think people my age will recognize.
oh,
But
okay,
like they had shows on British TV about them that Kim Fuller like wrote them.
oh,
So
okay,
I wonder how much of this, like, he knew
scripted,
them, he pulled from them into the script.
okay,
Because I mean they're playing themselves,
yeah.
right? So that it does make me wonder, like, knowing that context does make me wonder kind of like, you know, were these choices intentional and things like that. But I think it is a good point, like what would it look like now? Although now I think we have a sad lack of girl groups, unlike the old days.
I agree. I- and you, to me, I sat there and I thought, because there have been some, and even back in the '60s and stuff, like the Supremes, and there were a lot of girl groups, back in the day, but nowadays you don't see that nearly as often, or fronted by women, or even including a lot of women in the girl groups. And I don't know, is there a need for a resurgence of that? Do we need another Spice Girls?
Yeah, I mean, I like love pop music, so I would always be for that. I think that there are
Sure.
some I think like K-pop has a lot of
Oh,
boy bands and girl groups, but I will say I'm not as quite as familiar with like K-pop.
I I know what it is, but and I'm
Yeah.
so far out of touch with that. But the other thing I was going to ask you, one of the other things was this, again, pardon my ignorance of what was going on in music at the time, but was this also the beginning of like all the other bands like In Sync and Boys to Men and stuff like that? Was this in the same era or the same years, or am I if it was that before or after this?
No, I think it's all kind of around the same
Same
time.
time.
I think that NSYNC came up a little bit later, but
Okay.
definitely like Backstreet Boys and I think kind of in different like genres. Like I think Boys to Men would fall more in the sort of like R&B.
Right, but
But and then like you had like TLC and stuff. And you had like girl groups in within R&B like SWV and people like that.
mm-hmm.
But definitely the sort of like Backstreet Boys and Sync, that sort of thing was definitely around and coming up at this time. Like my first concert ever was in 1998, and I saw NSYNC
Okay.
for their first album. So
And that was their first, okay, their
I
first
believe so. Yeah.
tour or whatever. So I just,
Hmm. Hmm.
I just wondered if the Spice Girls, and I know you said a lot of people, and you hear about them and stuff, and people, everybody knows who they are and stuff, but were they, sort of, you said they didn't really last very long as far as being together as a group and stuff, and I'm sure if they got back together, people would, clamor to see them.
Yeah, I think every time that they have reunited, people do like it's a big deal.
I'm
Like I
sure.
said, when they went because they went on tour when I was in high school, so I think it was probably sort of like a 10th anniversary kind of thing.
Hmm.
And then they've gotten together a couple other times without Victoria because Victoria now is like, no, I'm a fashion designer. But then like the London Olympics, I remember I was at my dad's watching the closing ceremonies and he's like trying to talk and I was like, shh, shh, no, not right now. They're
Dad.
singing Spice Up Your Life and they're on top of cabs, just
Exactly.
riding
Exactly.
around in like kind of updated versions like of their usual outfits and stuff. So it was great. And it was Spice Up Your Life, which is always a fun song. So yeah, I think that like it is funny that like they weren't together, right? They have like two kind of main albums. They have the other one that came out
Hmm.
with just the four of them and like Scary Spice had her hair straightened. I was like, this is not for me anymore.
Oh, yeah.
And like Victoria Beckham had like a pixie cut. It was just like, who are these people? So yeah, it was like it was just not the same. But really, like just the first two albums having such like a strong like legacy and like imprint on people like me and like my friends and like people of my age. It is really interesting that it's like they weren't around that long, but just like still persist so strongly for people.
Yeah, I mean, they must have made a huge impression because you see, like even the other groups, like NSYNC and the other ones, they still, well, some of them still tour,
Hmm.
and I mean, they sell out shows everywhere. So and I can see where everybody has to go their own way, and you get older, and things change and stuff. But can you imagine if they got together for a tour, what it would look like today? They would probably sell out every place that they ever went to, every stadium, wherever they go.
Yeah. They keep kind of teasing stuff, so I'm really, really here's hoping. Fingers crossed. And
Now, when
Victoria,
they,
you better get there.
I was
Get
going to
on
say, now
stage.
is Victoria still holding out? Is she still like, oh no, no, I'm the mother of David's kids, and I'm going to do this? But you think there's any way that she would agree to at least maybe one performance or something?
Maybe. I mean, they say that they talk about it, so I hope so. But yeah, she kind of puts herself forward as she's like being a fashion designer and like having her makeup line is her job now. And it's like, why can't you do everything? Why not all of it? ¿Por qué no
Exactly.
los dos, you know?
Well, or the
Um,
old saying, you dance with the one you brought. I mean, that's really, wasn't this her step into the spotlight and stuff, being a Spice Girl?
yeah, yeah. I mean, no one would know. And I'm certainly she probably wouldn't have been with David Beckham without,
Yeah, come
having
on.
been a
I mean,
Spice Girl.
exactly.
Because they were both like they were the Travis Kelsey and Taylor Swift of their time, of
Well,
England
yeah,
in the
there you
late
go.
90s.
That's a great comparison. That's
Yeah.
going back to here she was the pop star, and he was the world famous athlete, and then
Hmm.
you meet, and for for whatever reason it's worked and stuff, and they maintained a relationship and stayed together and had children and stuff. So, but
Hmm.
what would be the harm in revisiting that time when things were maybe a little more innocent, or they were a little more lighthearted? Maybe
Yeah.
that's what this world needs nowadays.
Yeah. Come on, Victoria Beckham, sending out a message specifically to you. Please, when
Victoria,
the
if you
Spice Girls
listen,
reunite, we
if you're
need you
listening to
there.
our podcast, if you can get this message, if this shows up on your device somewhere, know that people are wanting to see you and the other girls together
Yes.
again. Please.
Without Posh, who's going to do all the pointing?
There you go. And it's okay if you still wear the little Gucci dress.
Yes, we support it. And again, I reiterate, you're the funniest one. I also just want to
Exactly.
encourage people to watch. There's a special from like 2000 something when David Beckham first came to LA Galaxy.
Mm-hmm.
And the Beckhams moved to the United States. And the NBC did a special. I think she was gonna get her own reality show, but I guess people didn't like this, and I don't know why because I loved it. But it's called Victoria Beckham Coming to America. I
Oh,
believe it is on YouTube. I encourage everyone to watch it because it's just like a 1 hour special of like her just getting into like hijinks. Like she's driving and she's like not good at driving, and she has to go get her driver's license, and like she keeps asking for help on the test, and they're like, we can't help you, that's cheating. And she
why
wants
didn't
like,
people like this? I think
I thought
that
it
was
was so funny. I guess people thought she was like out of touch, but I think she was like just like in Spice World. I think she's like playing it up. She's like being silly. Um, like she goes to the DMV to get her picture taken and she's like posing and she's like, "Can I bring my own light?" and like wanting to like she's like, "Can I approve it?" and then like redo it. And they're like,
that,
"No." It's I thought it was genuinely like the funniest thing. It was so funny to me. And I encourage everyone to watch it because I think that has added to like my appreciation for her humor.
sure.
But she's so funny.
Maybe people just have the only thing they know of her is being David Beckham's wife, and then they just don't think that she has any other talent or whatever it may be. But if they go back and watch this movie, especially, I think, and I'll tell this to people of my generation as well. If you haven't watched this, or if you had no desire, you don't think it would be your cup of tea, so to speak, give it a try. Watch it. At the very least, it would make you smile. And there are parts where like I said, I laughed out loud. And am I the target audience for this movie? No, I doubt it very seriously. But because Lindsay wanted to watch it, and I agreed to take a look at it, I've watched a movie now that I probably wouldn't have watched if given my own devices. But now I'm glad I did. I really enjoyed it. So I'm telling all you other people of my generation, give it a whirl. Try something different. Give yourself a chance to look at something that out of your comfort zone maybe a little bit, or just to experience something different for a change.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Let me just, I wanted to highlight just a few moments that I love that we have not already talked about.
Sure.
One again, and I think I didn't get this as a kid, but at the first scene with like the tabloid guy, and
Mm-hmm.
he's like talking about all this stuff, and he goes, "And if they find a cure for deja vu," and the guy goes, "Yeah," and then he says, "Or if they find a cure for deja vu." I love just like little moments like that,
That was funny. I'm glad you reminded me of that. That was funny.
where they just pull out these little silly lines.
Mm-hmm.
I also again when they're in Milan, and again like what I don't know what the point of this was like to the whole movie, but like they're singing and the guys come out and they're like, what is
Oh
going on?
my God, I forgot
And
about that.
and then they quote unquote compromise by them having the sort of like Prince suit with the butt cut out. Oh, what's
What
that? That's the compromise.
That's the compromise, and that was yeah, that was funny. I forgot about that part, but that was about going to Milan, and then and I guess the thing about, are we there yet? Are we there yet? So that was
Yes. And even just like the little moments, like once the guys come out and like Clifford is arguing with the Italian guy and like Sporty is talking to the shirtless guy about like AC Milan being weak in the midfield, which
well,
like I do have to
I'm sorry.
struggle to understand her at times too. Sporty and
Well,
Scary, the northern accents are a
well,
struggle.
one of the things that I noted, and because I've seen Mel B on America's Got Talent, she's been on the one with the All Stars and stuff like that.
Hmm.
She has not, her voice has not changed in all this
Hmm.
time. She still speaks exactly the
Yeah.
same.
When I
And then
say go, we
when I say
go.
go, everybody go. And I wrote that
Go.
down because you had said that. And oh, that's where Lindsay, that's what she's talking about when they jump off the bus and get onto the boat.
Yes. I still say that to my friends. When I say go, we go.
We go. And
Go.
one of the things that I was looking at was at the end of it, when you talked about it, where they sort of break the fourth wall and they start talking to the audience. And this is for people who maybe have gone to the movies with Lindsay and I and noticed that we don't leave until the last credit rolls.
Hmm.
uh, basically because most of the Marvel movies have like an Easter egg at the end of it. But I wondered, Lindsay, was this where you got the idea that you started staying for the end of the credits because the Spice Girls were talking to you?
No, no, unfortunately, no. No, I'm just a professional Marvel watcher.
Oh, okay.
But it is good. And I also like the song at the end, the Lady is a Vamp song.
Mm-hmm.
So I do think that that makes the credits more fun.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I agree.
Um,
Yeah.
I do like that song a lot. I will say, I want to talk about the music, but I will say my other favorite line that I do still use all the time is after they've fallen off the boat and they get back on the bus and they're arguing with Clifford and he's like, "What were you doing?" I think it's Baby Spice is like, "We were trying to have fun. You know, fun. Ha 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 ha." That I always still use too
Yeah.
because it's just cracks me up every time. You know, fun. Ha 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 ha
Ha ha
ha.
ha.
That's one of my favorites. But I wonder, I think the other reason, getting back to the music, is because I just enjoy the songs. Like I like pop music, and so I just enjoy their music generally. And they have some like really good singers in the group, Sporty Spice especially, Mel C. So I just enjoy the songs and like I know them, right? I know all the words to these songs. So having them throughout the movie and then obviously kind of culminating with Spice Up Your Life, which is
Mm.
just a fun song. What did you think?
I like the music, and now I will admit the only song that I knew is the Wanna song. What do you
Hmm.
really but the
Wannabe.
other song Wanna Be. I'm sorry. So,
Hmm.
but the other songs, as I was listening to them, I could see, and I don't know, maybe because at that time I wasn't listening to the radio a whole lot about or popular music, pop music. And I'm still stuck in the 60s and the 70s, sorry to say, but that, hey, it is what it is. I thought the music was fun and it was bright and I thought the lyrics were good and I could see where it was sort of yeah, where people could say, oh, it's a fun song because none of the
Hmm.
songs were depressing or sad or and maybe we need more of that today. I thought I kept thinking that throughout the whole movie. Maybe this is what we need instead of I don't like to go to the movies and be depressed. I like to go to the movies and sort of feel better about things in general, maybe about me or other people or about the world. But and I did. I liked the music a lot. I thought the music was probably one of the better parts of the movie, the production numbers and so on,
Hmm.
and the
Hmm.
orchestra and stuff. So I thought I really enjoyed that. So
Yeah, no, I love it. I love the music. Yeah, I think the only like kind of real slow song was Viva Forever, which is like the part when they've all had a fight and they're reminiscing.
yeah, uh-huh.
But I think that's more like ballady, it has the little like
Yeah.
flamenco guitar in it. Even still, it's not too much of a downer, but I think it fits the mood of, where they're at when they're all kind of separate, thinking about kind of how they got where they are.
Yeah.
And then it
And
leads them all back to the little coffee shop.
to the little place, yeah, where they said they used to live and then it was for sale or something.
Hmm.
I
Hmm.
kind of thought maybe at that point they were going to go, oh, let's buy it. And then, we
Yeah.
can, stay here, but that didn't happen. So,
No, they were like, let's go take our pregnant friend to a club.
yeah,
That's
let's
the
go
right thing
see.
to do right now, obviously.
Or I thought maybe they would go look up the guy who owned the coffee shop or try to find him, maybe. But
Yeah, they were like, oh, I wonder what happened to him.
yeah,
Anyways,
or we owe him money. And now that we have money, let's pay him. But, no,
yeah,
that didn't happen either.
too
So,
late now. It's closed.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And, for all we know, he ended up in the poorhouse or destitute and because nobody paid their bills and he couldn't pay the rent. So
Oh, I hope not. But yeah, no, they're like, let's go to a club that plays our music and
yeah,
we'll all
and
go dance while our pregnant friend just stands there.
right, exactly, and looks like she swallowed a watermelon, and
Yes,
poor
yes.
thing, because well, she's supposed to look uncomfortable, and she did a good job of that. She did look like she was uncomfortable. So
Yes. Although a real pregnant person would never. My friends who've been pregnant, if they were overdue by like a week and I was like, let's go to a club, they would be like, What the
even if
hell
you
is wrong with you?
even if you had a big, huge double-decker bus that you drove them to and Meatloaf was driving, come on now.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
Well,
Um,
maybe that's the plight of the world these days, Lindsay, that we don't do things like that
that
anymore.
pregnant people don't go into clubs.
Into clubs, yeah. So maybe that's
Now it would be like the scene in Knocked Up where she tries to go to a club toward the end and the doorman's like, it's not even good parenting.
yeah, probably.
Doorman. But yeah, no, although if I was at the club with my pregnant friend and Who Do You Think You Are came on, I would leave them to go dance because I do love that song.
Oh, okay. Well, there
Um,
you go. But
that's the one that goes like swing it, shake it, move it, make it. Who do you think you are? It's sort of like a disco-y beat. So that's a very
yeah,
fun one.
you do know
That's
the
one of
words to the songs.
I do. I
I
wasn't joking. I'm
no,
dead serious.
I didn't think you were, but I'm impressed. So
This album I had on a CD because this was sort of the early moment of CDs.
uh huh.
And I was going on a trip with my mom, but her car didn't have a CD player yet. So I
The
had
nerve
to
of that woman.
I mean, it's not her fault. Her car was from 1996. They were not with the times yet, but I had to like we had like a big CD player tape deck kind of thing, so I had to record it onto a tape.
Oh, on a
So
cassette tape.
yes, because I was like I have to listen to this.
Oh
I can't
yeah,
not
of
have this.
course.
I can't not have Spice World playing. So I recorded it onto a tape so that we could play it in her car.
Gotcha.
But yeah, no, I was very committed. I was committed to it. But yeah, no, I love these songs. Like Say You'll Be There, which is the one that they're singing, they're like rehearsing when, like I said, Mel B's in like the spacesuit kind of thing.
Uh huh.
That is Say You'll Be There, which is probably one of my favorite songs of theirs. And Who Do You Think You Are is a really good one. Like really all of them I enjoy.
Yeah.
But those are two of my favorites
I
for
can see
sure.
that though. Like I said, I thought the music was it was fun, and I know I keep using that word, but I kept writing that down as I was watching the movie over and over again that the movie was fun, and it didn't take itself too seriously, and like I said, it was an enjoyable experience for me to watch it.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Oh, I will say, sorry, last um
No, that
moment that I love is the part where they do the photo shoot and then they're like, I
oh
want to do something different. So then
that was
they do
good.
all the famous people and then they dress up as each other. That part always cracks me
Yes,
up. My mummy's my best friend. Victoria as Baby Spice.
yeah.
Because that part's just like again, it's just like silly. The whole movie, it's just like fun and silly. And I think that part sort of captures it for me because I always just like thought it was so because like I said, they're very like distinct. They're like, they're characters that they each
Mhm.
are, scary,
Right.
sporty, ginger, baby, posh. And so like seeing them like ginger dressed as sporty, like doing high knees and stuff like that, and like baby is scary, just like going like rah.
But when they did the photo shoot, because I was making notes too, and not to steal your thunder, but I was looking. It was like they were doing like the theme from Charlie's Angels and
Mm-hmm.
and stuff like that. And I thought I liked all that it was sort of it was just sort of people that if you watch the other shows or something, you sort of got that, and I thought that was a nice nod or acknowledgement of some other things because that was kind of one of those the Charlie's Angels things where they picked three actresses and they put them together in this show, and then it was
Mm-hmm.
about empowering women and stuff, which was a good thing, but you think about that was back in the 70s,
Yeah.
and here they are kind of recreating that. Maybe they borrowed a little bit from that too, but
Mm-hmm.
there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with borrowing as long as you don't just they still made it their own.
Yeah, yeah. That's what I thought too about the guys pitching the movie when they called them the Spice Force 5 because it sounded like the Fox Force 5 from Pulp Fiction.
Oh, okay, yeah, I forgot
Um
about that. Yeah,
Now again, that was like something that I had not seen Pulp Fiction at 7, which is good probably.
probably, yeah. Uh-huh.
Uh
Same idea.
My dad let me watch a lot. My dad let me watch Titanic when it came out and I was also 7. So
Ooh, really?
yes, we had the double VHS and everything.
Okay.
Um but yeah, that part with the Fox Force 5, it made me think of Fox Force 5 now, but with them all kind of having their own, skills of explosives and masters of
Yeah.
disguise and stuff. There's just so much that it's just like, if I was being very critical, it's like, what is the point of this? But um it's because it's funny. It's because it's
Yeah,
silly and
it
fun. Like
is.
that's the
Yeah,
point of it.
exactly. So I was thinking the same thing. It's like you and I've watched, well, a lot of the Marvel universe and stuff movies, and a lot of them do have messages or morals or whatever it may be, and there's a lot of stuff in there. But sometimes movies can just be fun, and sometimes they can just be entertaining, and they don't have to tell us something or teach us anything. Or if they do, it's that it's okay to have fun for a little bit, or to let loose, or not take things so seriously. But that's just my opinion.
Yes, no, for sure. And girl power. They teach us
And
girl power always.
exactly, exactly. So
The power of girl power for sure. But yeah, and I think what's fun too is that even like everybody in this movie is like being silly. Like Roger Moore is saying nonsense phrases the entire
oh
movie.
God,
Just
yeah,
like,
the headless chicken can't see where it's going, only where it's been, or something like that.
do not be that chicken.
Do not be that chicken.
And every time Clifford hangs up, and Deborah's like, what did he say? And he's like, I have no idea.
No idea. Or he's going, I'm going to stand firm up to the chief. I'm going to, and oh, yes, chief, of course. Yes, we don't have time to take a morning off. No, we won't do that. So
Yeah, it's so silly, so funny.
it
But even
is.
he at the end when the concert's happening and he's bopping to spice up your life.
Exactly. He's like dancing around and stuff. And he goes, oh, he goes, we better, enjoy this and stuff like that. So but when you said that they didn't last much longer after the movie came out, I'm very sad to hear that they didn't at least last a few years together. So I knew they
I
weren't
know.
together now, but gosh, you would have thought after that it would have been clear sailing, or boy, look what we can do now, or look where we're at. And then all of a sudden it's like, nope, see you later, bye. I can't believe
Yeah.
somebody would say, oh, I got a better offer other than Victoria.
Yeah. They broke up like right after my 8th birthday. Like it
Oh
was like a
God.
day or two after it. I was like,
And
oh
did
my
you,
God.
I know, and I'm sure it probably made headline news, didn't it?
It did. Yeah, it was sad.
I'm
It was
sure.
like everyone was like devastated. And when I say everyone, I mean like me and all the other girls in second grade.
Right, that you were, yeah, that you guys were like, all of a sudden it was like, oh my gosh, that what happened. I'm sure that in rumors probably abounded about, why it happened, or who was to blame. So, and whose fault was it, or
Yeah, probably. I was, blissfully unaware of rumors because, like, there wasn't internet really at the time, and I was only 7, and 7-year-olds in 1997 like didn't have cell phones or computers,
gotcha.
so I was blissfully unaware of that. Though, like for us, it was just like, why would Ginger do this? Because she left. So I think we felt betrayed by her, and then I felt betrayed by Scary Spice for straightening her hair.
Oh,
Um,
okay. So you took that as a personal affront.
I mean that only slightly seriously, but I was just like,
No,
why
I
would she
know.
do that? um, but yeah, no, I was just like, what is this?
Yeah, wait a minute.
Part of
Who
the
are
reason
you?
why you were my favorite is because you had big hair like me.
Yeah, you
And
were.
then now you straighten your hair. What the heck? What is
Yeah.
this?
What's going on? What?
Yeah, so it was a lot at one time. And it's like, no, I can't handle all this change. I'm too young for this. But yeah, like I said, it's just somehow it is very cool that they still sort of like persist in this way.
Mm-hmm.
Even though the actual kind of time that they were producing music as a group was pretty limited.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's, I won't say that surprises me, but that makes it to me even more impressive that they
Hmm.
are still this popular, and they weren't together that long.
Yeah.
For they don't have the same musical catalog that even like In Sync, or some of these other groups do, where they've put out 3 or 4 albums. They just had, according, I guess, just two, right?
Technically 3 if you count the goodbye one.
Oh, okay. So, but even still, it's like, really? And like I said, I'm sure there's probably still fan clubs and stuff around throughout the world. No, and if anybody's wondering, no, I haven't started one, not yet. So,
And now you will.
but well, I don't know that I'll start one, but like I wouldn't be adverse if they did get back together and if there was like some sort of, I don't know if it was close by or not too far away, but or if they brought it to a movie theater like some other artists have and it's shown
Hmm.
at a movie theater, I'd probably go see that because I think it would be enjoyable. I really do. So,
Yeah, yeah, for sure. They did a big when I was a kid, they did a big HBO concert special, and I
oh,
I taped it on a tape
oh,
on a VHS at the time.
so you still
Um,
have it?
ooh, I don't know. I have to check at my mom's house. There was at some point still a bin of VHSs, but I think
Do you still have a player?
no. But
No.
I could get. I think one of my friends has a dual VHS DVD player.
Oh,
But yeah, so I remember I taped it. It was great. It was a really good like big concert. Yeah, I mean, again, I think it's another thing that like perhaps all of their music was not meant for people who were 7. Like To Become One
mm-hmm.
is a song that in my 7-year-old brain was about breaking up. And in fact it was not. Um
Oh,
it was about having sex. And when I was 7, I was like, "Oh, well, two become one, they broke up." Did I listen to any of the other words and comprehend them? No.
oh, well, I mean,
Or
that's
like
okay.
they had a song called Naked, and
Mm-hmm.
on the concert they were all like sitting like with chairs backwards, they were wearing like nude like bodysuits, but when I was a kid I was like, "Oh my God, they're naked. I can't watch
Oh,
this."
oh,
They were
yeah.
not.
Oh, okay.
But they were like simulating it because they were wearing like clothes, but it was like, like flesh colored clothes. So they like looked naked, but it was a really good concert special that I loved. I remember.
Oh,
They
okay.
should HBO bring that back. Put it on Max so I can
What
stream it.
I was going to say, is
Um
it on? Can you is it available or no?
Probably not. Probably not.
No.
Because it was like I said, it was from like 1997, 1998. But I remember like taping that and watching it like more than once. And like they did Mama. That was the song I think I told you that like I remember there was a day that like I felt like I was not that nice to my mom, and then I watched the part where they sang Mama and I was like, "Oh no. I should
Oh,
be nicer to my mom." But no, like so many good songs, like songs I will still listen to this day,
mm-hmm.
and really enjoy, and clearly like still know the words to, like I said. So yeah, I think that it was it was just I think the Spice Girls were like essential to me as a kid, and therefore like Spice World, it was just like part of that in general. They were just like my group, like kind of my like group to be obsessed with, and like identify with and like look up to as a little girl. So they still hold a place in my heart for that reason.
And I think
Um
that's great. I think that that you still think of them that much and that you still continue to feel that way about them. I think that's really good. That don't we all kind of need that in our lives, like a, a,
mhm,
an early influence, whether whatever it is that still stays with us or resonates with us even as we grow older.
for sure. For sure.
Or am
And
I,
I
or is that too deep?
No, I think that's it. And I think that's like you were talking about like all these groups like going on tour again. Like I think the nostalgia of it is like what is really important to people. Like it reminds them of like a different time in their life, or like this group, whatever, like whether it's New Kids on the Block or like Backstreet Boys and whomever, the Spice Girls, sort of like, made an imprint on people when they were kids or teenagers or whatever, for whatever reason, and it kind of sticks with them. And then even when you're older, they still have meaning to you. So that's why, like you said, all of these groups can kind of go on tour decades later and still sell out because it has that like nostalgia factor for people. So, and I will
I'm
fully
wondering.
own that. That's where Spice World is for me.
Well, good. And, maybe part of it is as we grow older, at least for me, sometimes I listen to older music that I grew up with only because part of me, it sort of makes me remember that time in my life, and that,
Hmm.
things were simpler, things were easier, that you didn't have as many choices or many hard decisions to make. And maybe it's a little bit of, not maybe trying to recapture our youth, but sort of just reminisce about our youth a little bit. So,
Hmm. Hmm.
the biggest decision you had to make was, were you going to ask so and so to the prom, or what were you going to wear that day to school, or what were you going to, or the big test coming up. But at that time, those were big, heavy decisions. But you look back on it now and you think, oh my God, if only that's all I had to worry about today was.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. And I think like a lot of it, like I said, I think for me, like the music, this is the kind of music I still like to listen to. I still like an upbeat pop song.
Sure.
So I think it still works. And I think like the music that you grew up with, like that's music that's still just like good to listen to. Right. It's just like enjoyable music, like period, that has like a timeless quality to it.
Agree.
Um, and just like Spice World, timeless, timeless classic.
Well,
Um,
I can see, again. I definitely can see why this holds a special place for you, particularly with you being that age and stuff, and having that impressed upon you. And maybe it did a little bit of it, shape you, who you are today, because you are independent and determined, and have a lot of talents, and so on and so forth. And who knows, maybe if you'd watched something else instead in 1997, you may not have turned out to be the same person that you are now. Who knows?
Could be, could be. I think I was like incredibly stubborn at the time. I was a very big know-it-all, so probably not. I think I had it all figured out
Oh, okay.
when I
Well,
was
good.
7. So
Good.
I this
Good
just
to know.
reinforced it for me.
Sure. And they were just telling you something you already knew. Is that what you're trying to say?
Yes, I was like, finally someone else gets it.
Gets it. Duh.
Girl power. Like, no, I was like, I had all these t-shirts that were like, yeah, I'm a girl, but I'll still kick your butt. Like that was very much my vibe at the time.
Ooh,
So it
okay.
really just um I think we just kind of both of us, me and Spice World, like met at the perfect moment.
Perfect.
Because I think
I,
this was the trajectory I was on already. I was a big why kid. I need things to make logical sense. And someone saying, well, do this because you're a girl just made no logical sense to me. It still doesn't.
Still
Um,
doesn't. Exactly.
so
Or conversely, oh no, you need to do this because you're a man.
yeah, exactly. Or like you
Uh,
can't do this because you're a woman or
yeah.
a man.
Oh
I'm
yeah.
like,
No, men don't do that. Well, why don't they?
yeah,
Why
says
why
who?
can't they?
Why?
So, yeah, who says?
Exactly.
Where's it written down? So,
Exactly. So, but yeah, like I said, Spice World still hits for me. Uh, I can still watch it and get enjoyment out of it. All the
eh,
silly lines, and sometimes I forget because so many like just random things happen. Sometimes it's a surprise because I forget like what order they happen in.
oh, I can see
Um,
that.
but like I said, there's not like a plot like a traditional in the traditional sense. So it's just like a series of things happening. So like it's a fun surprise like what order they happen in. Like I always forget that they go to dance camp like early with Mr.
Oh,
Step and they do their little cadence
mm-hmm.
and their obstacle course. Like but yeah, so it's always like a fun surprise because I just forget like the order that things occur in. So it's like watching it for the first time every time. Like I obviously know like I know how it begins and I know some of the beats. I know that, they're at the hospital right before the concert, that, there's a kid in a coma and Victoria says, Jerry, take your top off, and he wakes up from his coma, etc.
I'm glad you brought it up because I wasn't going to, so that's okay. So,
Yes, no. A lot of good lines in the hospital too. Like when the baby
mhm.
is born and babe Emma, baby Spice calls, she's like, it's a beetroot. And
Yeah.
Victoria is like so freaked out by it. She's like, slap me. Yeah, so many good lines in the hospital. Um, yeah, no, and then the bus jumping the little toy bus jumping the bridge.
I wrote that
Um,
down. I thought, oh, that was great about, oh, that's good. That sounds expensive. And then they showed the little segment and well, maybe not. And
yeah,
oh, because
it's the
that was
rules.
funny.
It's the rules. There's a bomb on the bus. And I love that they come back to that at the very, very end.
Oh
I
yeah.
know what you're wondering. What happened to the bomb on the bus?
What happened to the bomb on the bus? And then boom. That
Oh
uh
yeah. And then little moments too when they run up the steps to the Royal Albert Hall and they're playing Gonna Fly Now from Rocky.
yes.
They're like "Brr, brr, 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 brr." Like when I was a kid I didn't know that. But now I'm like, "Oh, okay. That
Oh,
makes sense."
well, yeah, like you weren't born when Rocky came out, so
I was not. I was not. I watched Rocky as an adult for the first time.
I was gonna say, so yeah, that was a whole different, yeah, time period and stuff. But
But
yeah, that
yeah.
I was gonna say, so, and then me watching it now, and I got the nod,
Mhm.
an acknowledgement, so to speak, I guess, to other movies, other genres, other and then and bringing all the guest stars for the cameos and stuff in.
Mhm.
I thought it was very very cleverly done and very well done, and I appreciate you picking this movie and giving me the opportunity to see one that I had not seen before in a movie that I enjoyed watching.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate you being so open to it and positive about it. I did think about like the James Bond references that you would appreciate.
Oh yeah,
Um
yeah, I
and
got
and
the
stuff
yeah.
like that. And I wanted to see like what references you would get that maybe like I wasn't aware of or something like that.
I don't think I picked up on anything that you didn't already know about. So it was just
Yeah.
more for me. It was, and I learned a lot more tonight talking to you about the history of the group and stuff than I didn't, because I purposely didn't do a lot of research,
Hmm.
on into the group or anything like that, because I just wanted to see the movie for what it was. I didn't want to see, oh, and by the way, right after the movie was released, this happened or that happened or anything. I just wanted to see the movie sort of like the way you did. Oh, okay, the movie came out. Let's see what happens in the movie.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
enjoyed it, I think, better not knowing that later on, or even what 6 months or whatever, a year later, that they were going to be broken up and they weren't going to perform anymore in public. So, but yeah, so I like I said, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it a lot more than I thought I would. I did go into it with an open mind, but I did. It was fun. And again, I know I've used that word a whole lot during our whole segment, but that's what I came away with. It was a fun movie, and I appreciate that.
Absolutely. Well, thank you. I appreciate you coming into it with an open mind and I threw kind of a wild one out there for my first pick, but
No,
it's an important one. Like I said, I think when we talked about this, like things that are important like generationally, like I think to girls my age, like Spice World was it. So,
and
um
I certainly can see that, and again, if it mattered to you, then it's important enough for us to discuss, and then hopefully somebody out there listening to our discussion will maybe, oh, maybe I should give it a watch, maybe I should give it a try, or maybe that's something that might pick me up or lift my spirits.
for sure. Everybody's got to give the Spice Girls a try. Well, I think we've covered it. I think we've
Okay,
said pretty much everything that could be said about Spice World. So, I guess to wrap up, when I say go, we go. Go.
go. I don't do it as
Bye-bye.
well as you do, so
Well, I've had years of practice. I've had years of practice. So,
gotcha.
thanks to everybody for listening. You can find us on all the podcast platforms and you can follow us on Instagram at Some of Our Parts Pod. Until next time, bye-bye.
Take care, stay safe.